Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Gyle here, and welcome back to another Supreme Commander epic. First of all, though, let me start today's cast by apologizing profusely for that rather rude, unscheduled break in programming. For those of you that haven't liked my Facebook page, you probably won't be aware that I've been dealing with one or two family issues. I don't want to go into it in any significant detail, but essentially, I was very close to having to hop on a plane and fly halfway around the world to rescue a relative in need. Ultimately, that didn't happen, but nonetheless, this little family crisis has confiscated a lot of my time. But now, I find myself with a little more time on my hands, and therefore, you guys can be the beneficiary of that. Like I said, it's going to be an epic. So disconnect your phone, disconnect your doorbell, tell your girlfriend she can't come round tonight, put extra food in your pet's bowl for the next hour. Your ass belongs to me, in the non-sexual sense, of course. Like I said, it's going to be an epic, and it's all going to go down on DeRosa's Sanctuary. So let's go on over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. We're all pretty familiar with the map. Let's take a look at the players. Up here at the top left in the blue corner, it's none other than Pachuriko. He's going to be going Seraphim, opening first land. Of course, Pachuriko, by another name, is the one and only Petric Pawns. He's going first land, second air there. And his opponent down here at the bottom right going UEF, back to his old tricks. It's none other than Blackheart. He's going to be opening first land and throwing down a rather uncohesive little line of T1Ps. Just like, yeah, just put it there, one there, slapdash. Very Jackson Pollock of him. But a little bit of history about this match. This was sent in to me by Brainfart. I've watched about half of it. He tells me it doesn't desync, and I trust him. Lord knows why. Essentially, this is a match you can tell immediately. You might think at first it's a ladder match, but this is the wrong shade of blue. This is electric blue, not baby blue. So it is a custom 1v1, and this was set up after TA for Life's, or one of TA for Life's over 2000 tourney, in which Zoc dominated, and Blackheart and Petric basically decided that they both suck and they need to unsuck immediately. So they played 15 games, and this was Brainfart's pick of those 15 games, so it's definitely worth a watch. So I believe him. He hasn't done me wrong many times in the past, so why the hell not? Initial plane, scout plane out for Pachuriko, or Petric. He did indeed go second air. What do we get from Blackheart? Are we there yet? Yes, we are. It was second air for him as well. Nice little bit of intel, though, being relayed over to Petric's side of the map as we speak. DeRosa's Sanctuary, of course, tons and tons of reclaim on this map. Natural all the way, lots and lots of rocks that anyone can pick up, get you going early on, and of course a ton of mexes, so expect this game to accelerate quickly. And of course we'll be watching carefully on reclaim throughout this match, because Blackheart, king of reclaim, will definitely be a factor. But nice early anticipation from Petric there, denying that first scout plane. Blackheart, of course, still completely in the dark as to the lay of the land from his opponent. Will not be privy to any of that early scouting information. We have got transports loading up with engineers as we speak from Petric, and we've already got one on the way from Blackheart. 4 NGs on board and its own little escort detail interceptor. Couldn't pay me enough to be that guy. But nice anticipation from Petric. Moves up there at just the right time, targets the transport, but can't kill it off in time to prevent those 4 engineers from making landfall. Blackheart immediately starts work on a land factory. Those 3 engineers from Petric will make successful landfall as well. Petric did manage to dispatch that transport a little bit further down. Will this transport make it back to base? You might think it doesn't really matter now because it's dropped off the engineers, but there is another starting location that's abandoned at the bottom left-hand side of this map, or of course redundant. Not having the extra teammates in this one on a 4-player map, and so of course you can immediately use that transport to load up engineers, which is what Petric's going to do. Blackheart missing out on a mild opportunity there to make that kill. Lines of factories going up for both of these guys down. A little bit of T1 tank fighting going on between Blackheart and Pachuriko up in this top right-hand corner. That Tham's going to be victorious. Another striker coming in. A little bit rusty at this whole casting thing. It's been a while since I've done it. Pachuriko's going to be able to make a grab for that bottom left starting location. It's clever, this texturing, isn't it? That really does look like a recessed crater, but actually that's pretty much just flat. Oh no, maybe it is. Ever so slightly. But the texturing definitely makes it seem deeper than it is. But a lot of reinforcements coming across the map, going eastwards from Pachuriko towards this top right-hand starting location. We've got a little bit of reinforcements coming north from Blackheart. Blackheart for the moment with numerical advantage, but that's slipping away quickly. And Blackheart's also lost the engineer, so that's not good. No more factories on the way for the moment, and I'm going to humbly suggest this is probably not going to go well up in the top right-hand corner for Blackheart. Already the blue numbers are building in pretty significant fashion, and indeed that looks like a bug-out command from Blackheart pulling out of that top right-hand corner. He's well aware, I think, that he's lost that. And a lot of interceptors on the field from Pachuriko. Blackheart already up to T2 there, that Land Factory HQ online up at the front. So T2 units rolling out from our UEF player. Let's take a look at Eco. Well, 74 to 51 in favor of Blackheart at the moment. But map control wise, there can be no mistake. Things definitely going Pachuriko's way here in the first 10 minutes. And a colossal amount of spam. Enough units here to repopulate the whole of Ireland from Pachuriko. Blackheart finding himself well and truly out spammed here. Are we seeing any tech on the field? Yes, we do have tech as well, so it's not just a matter of spam. Pachuriko is upgrading as he goes. He's also got most of his core mechs, in fact all of his core mechs there at T2 and outlying at T2 as well in this little starting corner here. But Blackheart still ahead by 9 mass at the moment, 93 to 84. Let's take a look at early reclaim. 38,000 banked from Pachuriko. 10,000 ahead of Blackheart, who's on 28k. So significant advantage, and that's of course all down to this rapid expansion Pachuriko's been able to do because of the huge amount of units he's got on the field. I'm gonna have to say it, I like Pachuriko's opening a lot more than Blackheart so far. You'd have to be a fool to suggest that Pachuriko's not in the more fanciful position right now. A lot more on the field in terms of military power, a lot more map control. He's got 3 out of the 4 starting locations under his belt. He's also making inroads in the center. Now Blackheart finds his main base under pressure from the north. Pachuriko starts a RAS upgrade on his comm. Blackheart still ahead for the moment, but the moment that RAS finishes, it's going to jump it to neck and neck or thereabouts. Pillars on the field going up against Thams and Zuis, dealing with them pretty easily for the moment. Getting a few T2 units coming in from Pachuriko. Unfortunately, it's just flak to the north, but we do have some Ilshivers marching on Blackheart's western flank. He's got a couple of hero triads guarding the pass for the moment, but in come the Ilshivers. One of those triads taken out. A pillar comes in to relieve the situation, and that is going to be the end of that little push from Pachuriko. No major ground gained there, just that one triad taken out, and there goes the RAS for Pachuriko, 103 seconds, and straight on to advanced RAS, the advanced resourcing upgrade, and boom! Pachuriko takes the lead in eco, 156 to 131 at the 14-minute mark. It was only going to be a matter of time with this map control, and Blackheart taking an early losing stance in this one. Cheeky little drop of a siege tank there from Pachuriko, so he's made the transition to T3. We're still at T2 for Blackheart's camp, but only just 97% on that upgrade. And immediately pillars are being dispatched, and I think it's fair to say Pachuriko's missing an opportunity here. His attention is elsewhere, and that Otham could be rampaging through Blackheart's base. Instead, it's sitting there waiting for Blackheart to bring units to him. Never a good situation. The build capacity in the area immediately starts construction of some T1 PD. Still no orders issued. Finally, there we go. But the PD is operational. Units of build capacity going to go pop there, but I don't think that Otham's going to get anything else done. Definitely a mildly missed opportunity there. Could have made a run into this base, picked off a few of these T2 P-Gens. Perhaps it would have forced Blackheart at least to bring his comm down there to overcharge it, assuming of course Blackheart's got energy storage. No, he doesn't, so he would have been able to do that anyway. Another assault from the north, meanwhile, brewing there from Pachuriko. A large open door for the moment. Quickly, Blackheart moves to seal the gap, and now we've got a Titan in the mix, so that transition to T3 land complete for Blackheart, who is busying himself with eco in the center of his base. Finishes another T2 P-Gen and immediately starts work on the first T3. And I'm hearing strap bombs going off. Look at this transition to T3 from Pachuriko. This game moving at lightning speed. 17 minutes gone. And we've got T3 land and air now from our game leader, Pachuriko, spewing out ASFs and strat bombers. You've got to dislike the situation that Blackheart finds himself in. We know at least he holds out for a long while, this being an epic. And I don't know if I said earlier, I don't remember whether or not I did, but I haven't seen all of this game. I did trust Brainfart. I watched about half of it, determined that it was going to be a good one, so I really don't know ultimately how or in what form this game is going to take. Now we've even got some Suthanus, some T3 mobile arty on the field there from Pachuriko. Forward T2 land factories getting taken out of commission there. We've got a few T2 gunships on the field from Pachuriko. Bulthu helping to take down that triad, the western flank. And look at this. Otham's rolling in the front door through the northern entrance to Blackheart's base. We have got some Titans coming in to cover. Sorry, not Titans. What am I talking about? Some Percivals. And this is going to be Pachuriko's difficulty now. Those Percivals pack so much more of a punch than the Othams do. Strat bomber getting shot down on the way in, and Blackheart has countered this tech disadvantage in the air that he's found himself in by going mass interceptor, mass T1. It's fine up to a point, but ultimately it's not going to suffice long term. Cheeky little collection of pillars just sitting up here at the top, trying to pick off passers-by, but a couple of Ilshivas going to get the better of them. There's the last units in the center, really, for Blackheart, who finds himself operating in an exceptionally small area of the map. We've got point defense being thrown together at the front by Pachuriko. He's going to use that build capacity to go on the offensive. And That was a friendly Southerners shell that just took out all of his own engineers. Not ideal, ultimately, I think it's fair to say. But still, more units of build capacity being used offensively here. More units of point defense going up. A little bit of a point defense wall. What's it look like intel-wise from Blackheart's camp? I can see he really hasn't seen a great deal of the map. He's got a little bit of intel at the center of Petrik's base, but doesn't know what's going on in the corners, really. Blackheart finds himself in a very, very precarious situation indeed. 21 going on 22 minutes gone so far, and just look at the economic difference between these two. 154 mass advantage for Pachuriko, 365 to 202. Taking a look at Reclaim, and Pachuriko's on 135,000 mass banked so far, compared to the rather paltry-looking 65,000 banked for Blackheart. Of course, that's likely to change. And in what way is that going to go? Well, I'm going to go with that's going to go in favor of Blackheart ultimately. Blackheart, of course, got the turtling advantage being UEF, so it's going to be tough to break. And the more stuff that Pachuriko throws at him, the more access Blackheart is going to have to Reclaim. We'll keep an eye on that as the game progresses. And you really can see the difference that a handful of Percivals make. Pachuriko's going to have to mix up large bodies of Southerners, T3 Mobile Arty, the Otham siege tanks, and the Athanamas, which are the mobile shield gens. He's going to have to be really smart about unit composition if he's going to be able to break Blackheart's wall of Percivals, which is surely only going to increase with time. Blackheart's going to be buoyed by the fact that he's holding on here, and he's so far down on map control. He's got to be aware that Pachuriko is significantly ahead on eco. And look at that body of ASFs out for Pachuriko. Blackheart with a large air force of his own, but of course predominantly T1. Decent scattering of flayers. The T3 static anti-air for UEF deployed by Blackheart. It's going to make approaches difficult for the air, but a large entanglement now of the two air forces. Surely going to go reasonably well for Pachuriko. He's got a massive amount of T3 and he's just blowing his way through that air force of Blackheart's. Very few inties left. Now what's he going to do with that advantage, I wonder? We've got quite a few air factories there, all at T3. 2 spitting out ASFs, 2 working on strat bombers. And what's that going to lead to? Well, ultimately, that's going to serve to contain Blackheart. He's going to find that exceptionally difficult to regain any kind of map control, not having the initiative in the air. And of course, being that far down on eco, getting the initiative in the air is going to be tough. But we're starting to see experimentals now rolling out from Pachuriko. First chicken on the way. He thought making its way out of Pachuriko's base, heading south currently, but ultimately that will be thrown, I imagine, onto the western flank of Blackheart, who is, to his credit, pushing out as we speak. Handful of Percivals, more than a handful, marching in towards this bottom left-hand starting location. They're taking strat bomber fire as they go, so no doubt when they come into combat with Pachuriko's ground forces, they're going to be pretty beaten up. Blackheart wisely thinking about dropping back. I don't think he's going to get anything done with what he's got there, taking so much strap bomber fire. Units build capacity moving up here as well. If he's going to think about starting some kind of proxy base up here, or he's just on a reclaim mission. I think the reclaim is statistically much more likely. A few Percival's breaking away from the pack up here to the north as well from Blackheart. Pachuriko, though, zoning in on those with yet more strap bombers. Content to go after these units with offensive weaponry that can't be fired upon. And indeed, that Ithota has took a shortcut right through the center. We've got a wave of Vulthus out here, which are going after the Percivals, but there's a lot of skyboxes down here. They didn't last too long at all. Ithota opens up, and immediately Blackheart reprioritizes the threat with its Percivals. That was a critical error there, turning the Ithota around, taking fire and pressure off Blackheart's ground forces, allowing those Percivals to carve their way through that experimental. Still, Blackheart seeming impervious to these attacks, which is amazing when you really look at what is practically a 2-to-1 mass deficit now Blackheart is facing. 422 to 217. How are we doing on the reclaim side of things? Well, Blackheart's up to 94,000, and Pachuriko hasn't advanced that much, so we've had a 30,000 increase in reclaim there for Blackheart for a 20,000 increase from Pachuriko. Pachuriko will now slowly start to begin to run out of the natural reclaim on the map. What reclaim we will start to see from this point onwards will be from fallen units, and you can already see Blackheart swarming around that Ithota wreck. 4 engineers scooping up as much mass as quickly as they can. Another wave of Vulthus coming in. They're going to get shredded by the flak and the T3 static that's situated outside the front of Blackheart's base. More Vulthus pummeling the Percivals down here, but still skyboxes preventing them from doing any real damage. Decent amount of Othams down here, but pound for pound, victory is always going to go to the Percivals. What are we looking at in numbers down here? We've got 32 Percies in the area versus 30 Othams, so that's going to be a win for Blackheart if the engagement happens, and happens soon. More strap bombers coming in though as we speak, and of course Blackheart completely unable to do anything about that air power. All he's got to rely on at the moment are the skyboxes, and if Pachuriko prioritizes those, he will still be able to operate with impunity against the Percivals from the sky. What have we got going on back at base? Nothing major. We have got some anti-nuke on the field, so half an hour gone. Pachuriko covering himself against potential nuclear attack. What have we got down here? We've also got strategic missile defense from Blackheart. Not seeing any nuke launches yet from either of these players. Of course, perfectly possible that I could have missed it. Now we've got an attack coming in from the north from Pachuriko. Decent-ish unit comp. We've got some T3, T2 flak, 1 Athena, but ultimately you'd like a lot more of that if you were Pachuriko. Now Blackheart, is he going to try and use this opportunity to make some progress over in the west? Still taking some fire from the sky, of course. Let's go to split screen, keep track of these multiple theaters. And Blackheart's comm under shield coverage down here. So well away from this attack, but not as many Othams in this mix as Petric would like, I don't think. Meanwhile, engagement going well at the bottom left-hand corner for Blackheart. Let's slow that up to normal speed, give my computer a chance to breathe. And indeed, as the last few Othams succumb to Percival fire, that is going to be a win in the bottom left, and potentially a whole bunch of land factories in jeopardy for Petric. Blackheart with his own personal shield now on board that commander, an extra 24,000 hit points, plus the 18 already on board the armor. He was never in any real danger, but nonetheless deals with the threat long before the comm gets into any trouble. Go back to single screen now. And Blackheart indeed now edging towards the western edge of that bottom left starting location. Take a look at what Blackheart's seeing. He's well aware of the location of those factories, so he'll be going after that, I'm sure. Lots of build capacity up here at the top. Not currently doing anything for Petric. And a nuke launcher on the way for Blackheart, so that's going to give him some options. Remember, we do have strategic missile defense in Petric's home base, but there's nothing to say that he can't go after these other starting locations. Bottom left probably not going to need to. Percival's getting the job done as we speak, and this is astonishingly good work here from Blackheart. 34 minutes in, he's been behind for essentially 25 minutes in this one, maybe more than that, and he's been facing nearly a 2-to-1 deficit for at least 10 or 15 minutes. Very, very impressive work from Blackheart, fighting his way out of the bottom right-hand corner, and there's definitely been a, well, I can say a shortage of units coming out of Petric's side. We haven't seen so much coming out from him, and he's already got a nuke launcher as well, so both of these guys going for the nuclear option in this game, and that's going to surely play into Blackheart's side of things a little bit better. Blackheart predominantly operating out of this one central base, which will be covered by anti-nuke. Petric will be able to use that nuke potentially to stall any attack coming out of that bottom right hand corner from Blackheart, but Petric with a lot more to lose ultimately from Blackheart's nuke launcher. And now entering a little bit of a lull. That attack seems to have petered out down here at the bottom left for Blackheart. A couple of Percys left way out in the west, but I think they're going to get chased down by that group of Othams coming in from the south, and indeed from the north as well. And cheeky little base being thrown together by Blackheart, definitely making it look like he wants to hold on to this. But look at the amount of reclaim he's getting his hands on here. These are all Percival and Otham wrecks. That's a ton of mass that's being heaped into Blackheart's coffers. But a Suthanus ends Blackheart's reclaim mission in a very bad way indeed, taking out large swathes of build capacity. Otham's come in, line of T1 PD, not really affording that position any real protection. No surprises there. But Blackheart breaking into the T3 air game now, starting to see some more ASFs on the field. And I think we're about to see a counter push in the south from Petric. Wants to retake all of that ground that he's lost. Has got build capacity in here, already working on re-establishing that base. Let's take a look at how things have changed on the eco side of things. My God, Blackheart is caught up. 189,000 mass apiece. It's neck and neck pretty much in reclaim. But of course, Petric still with a massive, massive generated mass advantage. Look at that, 518 to 200 1. And that mass is being thrown into an experimental bomber. And that's a risky proposition from Petric, but at the same time, if he can use it effectively, that could be the tool that he needs to crack this seemingly unbreakable nut in the bottom right-hand corner. He's got air advantage. He knows he can, or he suspects he can keep it alive if he's smart. The only real thing he's got to worry about is the anti-air, static and mobile. And more importantly, he can use this experimental bomber to contain Blackheart. Talked about the nuke launcher earlier potentially being used to contain it, but this is a much more effective tool. You can see Blackheart now scrambling with his air force. He knows that the bomber is on the field. He will have been waiting for something like that to emerge. He will have known how far behind he is in eco. And now the games begin, the cat and mouse. And I don't think that's going to go well for Blackheart at all. You can see he's trying to keep this huge T1 Air Force away from the ASFs, but still chase down the experimental bomber. And if he's done anything, he's bought time for the Percivals to attack this bottom left-hand corner again. And Petric seemingly having major difficulties getting that bomb off. Always difficult on moving targets. Percivals just won't die, but there it goes, and there's going to be huge casualties. Bottom left, southwestern army for Blackheart being annihilated. The bomber goes home, and the interceptors are eradicated by Petric's overwhelming horde of ASFs. Very nicely played there indeed. More ground units coming in, but the bomber should be able to tidy those up without any real difficulties. Meanwhile, over in the east, the battle rages on, and there goes a nuke from Blackheart and the nuke from Petric. Simultaneous launches coming off from these two players. A wave of scout planes out from Blackheart, getting a decent look at Petric's base, potentially for the first time. Blackheart's going for the top right, and the core mass in that starting location. Down it goes. Petric instead goes for the western expansion there for Blackheart. Down that goes. At least 5 factories bite the dust in that one, and 4 T3 mexes bite the dust in the top right for Petric. Brings him way down into the 388 mass range. Still an advantage though there significantly for Petric, facing off against 207 mass at current reading. And another bomb away from the experimental bomber lands flushly right on top of the whole line of skyboxes there. A lot of skyboxes on the field, seeming like it's the only real weapon Blackheart has got. Can't take out these airplanes in the air, cannot get an air force together quickly enough to counter Petric's ASFs. Has to do it from the ground, but that's a tough play to make, trying to defeat an experimental bomber with flak, but he comes right the way over the top. He will be exposing himself to T3 static, and wow, 2/3, even maybe 3/4 of the hit points evaporate. That was a risky pass. You won't want to do that again in a hurry. In fact, the danger hasn't passed. Those ASFs that Blackheart has got, limited in number, they do pursue nonetheless. But he's going to keep it alive. 103 kills on that experimental bomber so far. 33,500 hit points left. And what is that? That's a that's in fact a support commander. I thought for a moment Petric was doing something crazy. It looked like he had personal shield on board, so we could be about to see a new strategy emerging in this one for Petric. Support commanders with upgraded shields on board. And is that all? Could we see overcharge employed as well? We've got nano repair, we've got personal shield, and we've got overcharge. And for those of you that don't know, Seraphim support commanders are a phenomenal offensive tool if used correctly, and this could be the ideal weapon to counter Blackheart's Percival spam. Gotta love the strategic diversity of Pachuriko in this one. Swapping from experimental to mass T3 to upgraded support commanders. Blackheart with a much more limited range of tools, but nonetheless with the chunky, high damage Percival to rely on. Put that weapon in the hands of, if not the greatest, then definitely the top three, one of the top three players in the game at the moment. I don't think anyone would begrudge me saying that. Maybe one or two people. But rating doesn't lie. Thota finding himself massively outgunned there. The Percivals takes out a good handful of them, but Seraphim really do struggle on the ground in the late game. Another pass by the experimental bomber, doesn't get the bomb away, and worse than that, finds himself in the thick of all of that anti-air, and that is a mass gift. Major error there from Pachuriko. If he was coming down here, he should have hung a right turn instead of a Louis and come back up this way. Instead, he ran into some pretty heavy flare traffic. But here we go. Rambo preset, S-A-C-U Rambo preset. So you can see presets of the support commander employed by Pachuriko there. I'm not even sure how that works. Someone like to answer in the comment section below if that's part of hot build or something. That's allowing him to upgrade support commanders en masse. It might be something like that. Certainly takes the edge off. So one thing that prevents people from doing this sort of thing more often is the tiresome method of upgrading support commanders one at a time, upgrade by upgrade. That's a pretty fireworks display. Skyboxers flinging that flak up into the air as T3 planes roar overhead. But look at this, we've got some drops coming in from Pachuriko, not to the front line, but somewhere in the middle. Definitely making use of the ferry option, and another experimental here cornered by colossal amounts of Percivals. 48 minutes gone in this one already. I am running it at +2. I suppose I can bring that back to +1, but we've got a Duke on the way for Blackheart, and that's about 40% done. Another nuke out from Pachuriko, and that's going straight after the wreck that Blackheart has just started reclaiming. Knows he's not going to be able to get any penetration into the main base with that Pachuriko. I love that decision. Deny what you can, and he's going to be successful. He's going to nick a few units of build capacity, maybe take out a support commander. There it goes. But ultimately, it's going to kill off the wreck. Let's take a look at the reclaim numbers on this one. 268,000 reclaim banked so far for Pachuriko, against 376,000 mass banked for Blackheart. That is disgusting amounts of mass. And that goes to what I was saying earlier. Just goes to show you how good Blackheart is at getting to the mass. Admittedly, he only really has to sit back and let Pachuriko bring the mass to him. But there's still a lot of skill in doing what he's doing, holding off this kind of relentless attack. It's not an easy thing to do at all, and all of that mass is just getting thrown into this artillery installation, which is about to go green any minute. There it goes, 75% complete, and that could change this game completely. Still a healthy advantage in the air power for Petric, but his priorities will change literally overnight when those first few shells start landing from that Duke. Priority will shift immediately. And Petric's base is pretty modestly shielded at the moment. A lot of gaps there where Blackheart could get some traction. We've got 4, 5, 6 T3 P-Gens at the back there. And what is that? Oh my goodness me, that's an experimental nuke launcher queued up by Petric. I'm very excited. I'd be surprised if he manages to get that one completed, but once again, mentioning the Duke, Petric's priorities might well change when those first few shells start to land. And Blackheart using support commanders offensively up here at the top as well. Mixing it in with the groups of Percivals. "52 minutes gone in this one though, and still not a lot of movement. This picture looks much as it did half an hour ago, albeit with a lot more units on the field and a lot denser infrastructure. But there we go, the Duke is online and the first few shells are landing and have already taken out one of the T3 power gens at the back of Petric's base. Blackheart knowing exactly where he was going with the targeting on that one. Going after it immediately. Petric ahead on power generation, but probably not for long. Meanwhile, new problems for Blackheart in the west as he falls back. He only really needs to fall back into this little section here, though. He should be able to halt the progress of this. He's got so many Percys on the map. He's actually pushing a little bit up here in the middle. Outrageous lines of T1 PD there from Petric, who's sitting at 624 mass to 229. That is outrageous amounts of eco. No wonder he felt that he could get a chance of getting an experimental missile launcher online. That really would be game over, but I'm guessing that's not going to get completed, not with artillery shells now landing in that base. Petric is going to have to reorganize that immediately. Percival's zoning in on another Ethota. Ethota could be targeting this little ball up here. Of course, the weapons on the Ethota, the primary weapons, the weapons that do the most damage, are AoE based, so you definitely want to go after the clumped units if you can. But 55 minutes gone in this one. It is astonishing how well Blackheart has held out in this one, and now I would go even so far as to say he's got the initiative. Petric with no actual way into this base and is eating long-range artillery fire and has now lost 6 T3 power plants. Has dropped from around the 38k generated power mark down to just 20. what, if anything, is Pachuriko doing about it? Well, he's trying to spam up more shields. You can see more shields and power generators queued up there at the back. But it really has Pachuriko waning a little bit. Potentially a very vulnerable area of the map now on the bottom left. There are groups of Othams kicking around, but nothing that can contend with the firepower from that many Percivals. This kind of ground battle I really do feel is weak for the Seraphim. Seraphim with no access, of course, to any T3 gunships. So much shielding going up to protect that Duke. Blackheart happy with the tactic he's employing at the moment. Defend, slowly push out with the Percivals, and pepper Pachuriko's base at range with that T3 artillery. And I cannot believe this turnaround, and it's all based on a deficit as well. I mean, Blackheart is so far behind on eco and has been the entire game. Got a cheeky little attempt at a support commander drop at the back there from Pachuriko, but there's too much flare coverage. That gets shot down without any difficulties. Now it's Pachuriko's turn to come under fire. We've got a group of Percivals coming up from the south, a group in the middle, another group to the right of the middle. And not a lot on the ground defensively for Pachuriko. He's been on attack this entire game, and he's got very little he can throw at these units. Lots of build capacity working on more shielding up front. We have got a nice little line of T2 PD there at that battle base. But more advances being made in the east. Terrible place to land. A lot of those planes, admittedly, most of them are interceptors and so of very little use at this stage in the game. Strap bombers deployed now for Pachuriko. He's got to throw everything he's got at these units, and a nice clump in the middle takes out a decent amount. Does lose one of the strats though to all of that skyboxer fire. And more units coming in to the east of that position as well for Blackheart, so things going from bad to worse at the moment for Pachuriko. Down goes the shield, down goes the T2 PDs up at the front. So much marauding damage, but what is going on? Pachuriko airdrops his commander into the center. He's had enough of living, I think. And I may have sounded surprised, but brain fart told me that was going to happen. And the little bit of backstory I've got that's privy, little bit of information that I'm privy to on that is Pachuriko actually thought that that was one of his support commanders, and that is such a tragic waste to an end of the game. I mean, it's not a dead certainty at all, but I think it's fair to say that that was going to be game for Blackheart. He was pushing out on multiple fronts. Pachuriko forced onto the defensive completely by that artillery play, and now we've got a nuke incoming. We did just lose an anti-nuke up at the front. Did we have another one back here anywhere? I'm not sure we did. And so that would have been a nuke landing plumb in the middle. Pachuriko was actually going for some T3 artillery of his own, but that was going to be a significant time before that was going to come online, and if that nuke was going to be landing, I really don't see that much would have come of it. at all. Very well played. Just breaching the level for Epicosity there. 1 hour and 31 seconds. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. As always, more to come from me in the future. In the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle, signing out.